Welcome back, Ultimate fans. Our last stream on Saturday at the Canadian Ultimate Championship Masters Edition here in Waterloo, Ontario. We are at Rim Park here in the northern part of Waterloo, featuring our last match of the day. It's a quarterfinal matchup between Korra, who was on the stream earlier and had a pretty solid win, versus North playing Vintage. And happy to see Vintage clawing their way back to the live stream field, as they unfortunately did not get featured after they thought they would yesterday. So families out there supporting Vintage, very glad that you get to see your heroes play the game. Expecting a pretty tight match here. I mean, Korra doing quite well in their pool. Vintage, I'm actually not sure how they did, but from what I saw them, looking like a pretty athletic team. Excited to see how this story shapes up. Korra on the right of your screen, pulling, and Bobby Anderson's pull is going to sail all the way to Alexandra Payet, and she'll flip that up quick as Vintage begins with a side stack, or a split stack look. Baudouin airs that out, but we have a foul call here from Poirier against Korra's Ashley Schramm, whom I will beg to let me call her Scram on the field, because that's a great name for a fast Ultimate player. So ruling is it is a foul, or at least Schramm did not contest, so that is going to stay with Catherine Poirier. Okay. She's going to put up a lofty throw that is just going to sit perfectly for number 29, Joël Pion-Massicotte. So Vintage showing us a pretty efficient offense quite quickly. And by us, my name's Clay Howlett, bringing you this final stream of the day, and I'm joined by Sam Weber. Sam, what are you looking forward to in this game?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how it goes. Well, it is our last. Could you remind me of kind of where, do you remember where this is within the bracket?
Yeah, in the bracket, this is a quarterfinal.
Okay.
So all the semifinals, well, you know what? I shouldn't say that. I know that the semifinals for mixed are being played tomorrow. For the open division, I believe, happened today, or happening today. And as for the women's division, I'm not too sure. So that's a very good question. But I believe the semis for the women's division is also happening tomorrow. Yeah. So
well, as a quarterfinals match, I'm looking forward to kind of like what they bring. They obviously it's a bit of a, like, it's a comfortable position, but you still want to get as far as you can, even if determining where you want to be in the bracket. Obviously, you want to go as far as you can. So I'm looking to just look for some great ultimate plays here today.
Pomelo's pull, fielded quickly, gets to G in the middle.
Yep.
And then Berg is going to flip that back to G, or Lee, I should say. Smith lets out a big huck to Berg. Berg turns on the Jets and gets some separation. And earlier on the stream, we saw some efficient offense from Korra's O-line, and we see it again, the score 1-1. So, Sam, I mean, both teams totally willing to show us that they're happy to put the disc right now, go for some deep shots. But, you know, in these points, we're often seeing these teams just sort of figure each other out, see what their tactics are at the beginning. I don't think these teams have played each other yet. I can get the update from one of the players, but need to see what's going on.
Lee. Yeah, let's see if Korra can make the defense this time. There is a bit slight of wind here. Technically, it's on Korra's side. So
it has picked up.
But it's here and there, so we'll see how much that can. That's definitely.
Anderson's pull. Fielded by Payet. Or Paye, excuse me. Paye looking for options. It's not quite there. She's going to get a reset up the line to Poirier. She's looking for that inside break, but it's not there. Instead, opts to the open side to Sanson. Sanson doesn't like that reset. Well, has Poirier up the line. She's going to air that out. But a great defensive play made by number 26, Petra Duick, against Laurence de Marival. So Korra with a break chance.
Yep.
Finds Kim Taylor in the middle. And a sudden gust of wind pushes that pass from Chelsea Greenwald down into the ground. Paye on the sideline. OI flick, pretty high, but that'll bounce off the hands of Sanson. Vintage really showing us that they're willing to take shots.
Yeah.
Anderson picking up. The wind starting to be a thing. Anderson takes advantage of it. Puts that deep to McLeod, but the wind pushes that a little too far. Poirier picks up. And that it has a call. That play has a call attached to it. McLeod looked like she reached over top of the shoulder of Lisa T. And they had to talk about it, but that call retracted. Good conversation.
Yep.
Humble takes a shot of her own, and that just bounces off the hands of McLeod, who was poised to get that double happiness. That is the defensive play and the goal, but just a small lapse right at the last second.
Yep.
T looks upfield, instead opts for the break to Sanson. Sanson goes around to Paye, outstretching to grab that. She'll find Poirier in the middle. And once again, Petra Dewitt closing the gap. Coming up big defensively on this point. Speaking of coming up big defensively, Poirier makes the play and then immediately throws a half-field huck to Pion Massicotte. To Marival. No mark. Yep. Being encouraged to be patient by her team. Poirier has Sanson up the line. She doesn't like it. Sanson's still there. She just hangs out. And that's in for the goal. Vintage 2, Korra 2. Sam, I'm enjoying Vintage's aggression.
Yeah, they're really kind of making it hard for Korra to kind of make those like smaller distance plays here, smaller passes.
Yep.
So they're kind of keeping Korra spread out. So oftentimes Korra is having to catch up. So within that, there's a couple moments where they had a little bit more time to kind of make a decision on where they're passing as Korra's catching up to that half-field toss, and they took that in swing, you could say.
So Alexandra Paye showing us she's got some big flick hucks on that offense. Vintage did indicate to us that that's becoming her favorite throw, and definitely paying off this game. Vintage's goal this tournament is the bronze medal.
Yeah.
So, on their journey there in this quarterfinal. That pole's going to land about at the brick mark, excuse me. Lee picks up, finds Berg. Berg not seeing her options up the field right away, but eventually finds DeSalle. And it works its way back to Lee. Lee's asking for something deep instead. Steven comes around. DeSalle. Back to Steven, who's got it up the middle to Lee. Lee's seeing one of her favorite receivers deep. and throws that in a place where only Berg can get it. So Korra responds. Score 2-2. So it's funny, I'm looking at both sidelines right now, or both lines, I should say, Sam. And look at Korra. We've got some ponderous
theory cramp in here
coming from some team leaders. And then back at Vintage, you've got a few players all listening to the line. So lots of conferencing.
Yeah.
Some counters being sought out here.
Yeah, well, good on Vintage. They're still kind of keeping their head in the game. Like, not getting too overconfident. Like, let's see how we can still improve our game, as opposed to kind of keep doing it.
Yeah, it's good to get the whole team involved. I mean, I really like teams that send people out to the line to make sure that, you know, you have an engaged sideline that knows what's happening on the field.
Yep. Okay.
Anderson been pulling all day for Korra. Yep. That'll be fielded by Poirier. She finds Paye in the middle. Those two have been doing a lot of the heavy lifting in the handler set. Sanson. Oh, look. Petra Duick with the run through D.
Yeah.
Or wait, no, that was Ashley Schramm. Have I been saying the wrong person? Ashley Schramm, I'm sorry. But run through D, huge play using those wheels.
Yep.
Schramm. Looking for a reset. She finds Bresciani. Bresciani breaks the mark to Robbie Humble. Humble puts a flick out to Hyun-Suk Kim, but that's broken up. Sanson looking for a huck. Elects to go with the backhand. Schramm's catching up, gets up, and puts the pressure on number 28, Gabrielle Baudouin, to break that up. That pass
and out of bounds.
Thrown behind Humble. So Paye picks up. Humble's looking for help on the line. The flick huck from Paye is her favorite. And while that sails over the top of Paye, Sanson is there to clean it up.
Sanson came out of nowhere there.
Yeah, good heads-up play. I mean, you need to have that sort of strategy in a vertical stack, right? If you're all heads up, someone's got to be able to be around to clean that up.
Mm-hmm.
Let your team know. It's okay.
I'll go pass along information.
Yeah, I'll let Vintage know as well. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
So a block.
Yep.
Main and Wojtowicz can't get that one back, so Vintage with the break chance here. Petit Tremblay elects for a dump, and then she gets it back. She's looking for something up the line. Instead, gets it to the middle to Pombrun. And bringing that in is Johnny Fournier first break of the game, so Vintage takes a 4-2 lead. Sam, I was waiting for when we were going to see the break. I'm not thinking I want to see any adjustments right now. I feel like Vintage is just really using their athleticism to get some things done right now. Korra's shown us that they can click into business time when they need to, which they did against North earlier today. Anything that you're wanting to see?
Yeah, they're really their game plan's working. It just is as evident. And so when you mentioned going for break, what was that term for me? Help me clarify.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So in Ultimate, we like to use the same word for 3 different words. So, you know, that just
makes everything
totally
very clear.
makes everything super easy.
Yeah.
But getting the break point, if you think about tennis.
Okay, so this is the break
Right?
point for halftime.
No, not quite.
Or
But if you think about tennis, it's if you can only score like the break point when you're being served to, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, you're starting on defense, right? So when you start on defense, but you score that point anyway, we borrow that term from tennis. So in this case, Vintage has made the poll. They're starting on defense this point.
Yeah.
Technically, on paper, Korra should score this point because they're on offense. If there's no turnovers, they should just get the point, right? But if Vintage can generate a turnover and then score, we call that a break.
Okay. Yeah,
so that was our first break of the game.
Okay, so that's what Vintage did last point.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, because that's really strong for them.
Yeah. Berg puts that out to Smith, and Smith has shown us the wheels all game, but she's not quite, or all day, but she's not quite in. But she finds a big around to a receiver whom I will... 17. That is Danny Bouvier. So Korra exercising that efficient offensive line that they did earlier today.
Yeah.
So looking at Vintage's line, I feel like that's not the same group we've seen on offense, is it?
Not sure.
All right, so Vintage, after a little team meeting, is ready. The hands up.
Yep.
So we're seeing a slight change in personnel here for Vintage. I mean, they've got the lead. Some teams have used different pods of players to play in certain directions, like up one and down one. It was getting gusty here a little while ago.
Yeah. So I'm curious if that'll come back. That definitely
yeah,
makes
it
an
kind of
effect.
really died, didn't it? Some pitch and catch amongst the handlers.
Yeah. Okay.
That'll work its way around to Guillotin. But that bounces off the hands of Wallin Massoneuve. Anderson picks up and just rips right away.
72.
And jumping up to ensure that goal, Chelsea Greenwald. Coming down, and Korra getting their own break.
Yeah. That
and
was
tying
really
the game
strong.
up.
That was really strong. Yeah. Do you know who was the one that threw that?
That was Bobby Anderson. She's been pulling for Korra all tournament, like literally every pull.
Yeah.
Literally. And
that was,
you know, she's got
really
that big,
great on her.
Yeah, and she's got that big backhand rip, right?
Yeah. Yeah, really took advantage of how almost kind of all the players were kind of huddled in that middle zone, and he just let her rip.
Yeah, able to do that thanks to Greenwald recognizing the transition and just taking off, right?
Yeah.
So Anderson could just grab the disc right away, pick up, and throw. As a handler myself, I love it when the cutters do that. I mean,
well,
why try and score in more than one throw, right?
Yeah. As much as you want to make like a safe pass, if you can kind of tell where all the players are going to be coming at from that.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a couple plays back and forth, and then suddenly everyone's in the middle. So I would imagine like
some would argue that's safe.
Yeah,
right? If you've got a player going deep,
safe.
They're by themselves, and you got that throw with no wind.
It would, and then suddenly within that context, it's actually safer.
Yeah.
In terms of the chance of getting the catch. Okay.
So Paye picks up. Side stack here from Vintage. And Sanson just takes off deep from the back.
Yep.
And she tries to flip that up for an easy goal. But Scram, get out of here. Ashley Schramm gets the D. That's maybe her 5th run through D this game. And unfortunately, that just rolls off the fingers funny of Robbie Humble.
Yep.
So Paye will pick up. Vintage in a good position here. Paye gets the around break. Pion Massinov, excuse me, will flip that back to Paye. Sanson has been a huge receiver. Gets her right outside of the end zone and finds Poirier just staring at her at the front of the end zone for that quick flip. So Vintage maintains the lead, 5-4.
5-4. I would like, Mom, to put ice in it and then pour this in.
Sam, I'm starting to see a player kind of on Vintage here, kind of dominating on offense. And I wonder what answer Korra is going to have for her. I'm curious if you're seeing it too. Who do you think I'm thinking of?
We're of the offensive player from Vintage.
Yeah. Who on Vintage is the threat right now?
Right now, I've been seeing a lot of 99 Samsung.
Me too. Samsung.
They've been taking it. They've been really just kind of like a force in every kind of end zone kind of play. She's right there.
Yeah, I agree. Maud Sanson has just been getting it open in the deep space at will and is also afraid not to come under. And she's quite tall, and we haven't really seen an answer for her out of Korra yet. If I'm Vintage, I would think you want to use everybody on the field, but you have basically an asset right now that you can really leverage. And she's here now on D-line.
Yeah, getting a bit of wind on their side right now.
Pomelo's pull, fielded by Lee. She'll move that to Steven in the middle. Steven looking for Doucette. Doucette stays with that cut. She'll go back to Steven. That throw is a little too high for Berg. Sansa is there to gobble it up. Bate. Running out of time. Stall 8. That's too high.
Oh.
And there's a call after Kelby Wojtowicz made the defensive play, but kind of unfortunately hacked Jessica Joignez-vous on the way down. So Joignez-vous is going to keep that. She'll flip that back to Bate. And Joignez-vous in her place and pass. And guess who? Sanson.
Guess who?
In the end zone for the goal. Vintage gets another break. The score is 6-4.
Yeah, not only with that just kind of aggression, Samsung has a really good understanding of when to book it for a setup.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you there. Her timing has been excellent this game. Not only that, we also saw her being really heads up, like out of the back of the stack and cleaning up an errant throw, right? So, interested to get some of the logic behind this line calling. They've been running a lot of their strong players this game.
Yeah.
Sanson is currently staying on the field. All right, so Yeah. Familiar personnel out there, but some new faces. So Vintage willing to kind of.
Yeah. And
mix
I
and
overheard
match.
that what was it? Vintage has a couple bit more players within their pool to choose from too. Like so there's that.
More wiggle
element
room,
to
you
it.
could say?
Just a little bit more wiggle room in
Yeah.
terms of who they want out. I don't know for sure how much that can affect or what that would affect in terms of how the game's played.
Baudouin's pole's picked up by Steven, who pops it to Anderson. Anderson finds Doucette in the middle right away. Korra getting some movement on. Lee loads up with that big flick huck to Smith. Lee signaling to her team that, yeah, that's me, I'll get it back. Alexandre Paillet, captain on the team, has that big flick huck. Doesn't like any of her options, so she'll look everybody up. She gets it around to Sanson. Paillet gets it around to Couturier. Baudouin, big backhand rip. And Joignez-vous brings that down. Seeing a different receiver in the last little bit.
Yeah. And Korra calls for a timeout.
Ooh, timeout Korra. The score, 7-4.
7-4.
Baudouin throwing that huck. It was a beauty. She told me she would not forgive me if I didn't give a shout out to her mother, Sylvie, who is watching the stream. So, Sylvie, I hope you're enjoying the game. Pretty cool to watch.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, pretty cool to watch your daughter throw a big huck and force another team to call a timeout. She did that.
Yeah. And thanks to everyone else watching right now as well.
All the other mothers, they're all pretty important.
Yeah. Can't live without them.
So, I'm listening to Korra's huddle right now. Well, I'm not listening to it, but I'm paying attention to it, and I can hear some laughter, and I'm seeing some smiles and hearing some energy out of Korra's timeout huddle here. They have won spirit of the game consistently at this tournament, and really want to lift each other up and keep their spirits up together. So, despite being down 3 points right now, you know that they're just aiming to rebound and not get down on each other. And they're putting out a very familiar-looking O-line. In fact, it might be the same line as before. Oh, no, we're seeing Anderson go out there, who's been typically playing D-line. That's a 4. Meanwhile, Vintage. Starting to rotate through their roster here.
Yeah.
Pomelo with the pole. Petra Steven picks up, looking for Anderson right away on the break shot. Gets it. Anderson sees Berg, doesn't like it. He's looking for Lee, looking for Greenwald. And instead, it was Doucette coming through. And Korra is able to move that up to Smith, but there's a pick call. So Doucette and her check win, work it out. And Smith, I'm sorry, just rips that
Off to
Greenwald.
Chelsea. Yeah.
Score 7-5.
7-5.
So time is 4 o'clock. We're half an hour into this game. Still 15 minutes until half.
Yeah.
With
1 point
from
Vintage.
with a maximum of 3 points that could take us to half. I'm sure we will get to half within the time cap.
Yeah.
A lot of teams have left for the day. It's seemingly a little quieter around right now. There's a lot of rounds concluded for the earlier ending day of the tournament, but still a lot of fans hanging around. A lot of these groups in the Masters divisions have family teams, sister teams, brother teams that, you know, everyone from the same area. You're kind of bringing a very large community of players to the tournament in different, you know, in different groups. So
yeah, I was curious about what kind of what this tournament means for Vintage. I was reading over just our notes within what it means for Korra and what kind of milestones they've had in the last year. So I imagine this one kind of means a lot for Korra too.
Yeah.
So
Greenwald gets her hand on that pass from Paillet. Humble picks it up right away, gets it back to Greenwald. Greenwald with the big flick huck. Moves that out to the ever-smiling Kim Taylor. Taylor looking for options, gets it to Anderson. Anderson will pop that to Humble. Humble doesn't like that break to McLeod, but instead finds Taylor. Big smiles, big hugs. So that's a break for Korra off Greenwald's hand block. So 7-6.
You could really tell that meant a lot for Korra. That kind of given them some momentum in their team.
So the score is 7-6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Korra double checking.
Yep.
You know, got to make sure it's right. I don't know how many games, Sam, of Ultimate I have lost at tournaments that don't have scorekeepers and or observers.
Yeah, I've been in similar situations.
It's very crushing to
very crushing.
find out you didn't keep score properly to lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Vintage is only up 1 break now. So I think why that point meant a lot to Korra, that last one, was because, you know, if they score this, if they get this defensive play and everything, that'll put them back on serve, and then they will start halftime on offense, which will, you know.
Oh, once, like after halftime, they could.
Yeah, you flip, right? So
it's,
so that, I mean, bringing themselves back up into the game, but also, like, getting those breaks back is
because ideally,
what you need to do to win.
Yeah, ideally, you want to be on offense, correct? Right?
After half? You know what?
Or just,
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
For different teams, they have different philosophies.
But I remember you mentioned talking about we want to, like, offensive is the easier position compared to defense.
Probably coming out of half in these conditions, yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of pressure from Korra there.
Yeah. Oh, just a little too high. Oh. Goes for the deep
and it's
dive.
almost as if
Hefting.
Linnea Hefting was searching for the disc a little too early and then had to make a second effort. But a lot of pressure from Hyunsuk Kim to cause that turnover. But Vintage now gets it back to go for the hold. Guillotin was looking for an around, but a little bit of a miscue.
Yeah.
Anderson will pick up. Doesn't like that around. Tough angle. At 0 degrees in the end zone. Schramm is there. Schramm faking the break, pops it back to Anderson. And Kim is there for the goal. So Korra ties it up, 7-7. We're back on serve, so Vintage can take half here on their offensive hold, which would keep the game on paper anyway, going shot for shot. But big energy shift, I think, Sam.
Yeah.
Pretty quiet on the Vintage sideline, but seeing a lot of hydration, seeing some conversations with the coaches. Korra, on the other hand,
they're uppity. Spirits are high. Yeah, they've.
Oh, next point ties it. I mean, next point.
Yeah, love to see it.
They were winning 7-4.
So the score at one point was 7-4, as our lovely scorekeepers are reminding us.
Yeah.
Okay, my favorite player on this team is Kim Taylor.
Just having a good time.
Yeah, always smiling. Now she's dancing. She must be the driving force and the spirit of the game. Did they? I wonder if they indicated that she is in fact responsible for all that.
Up to the 10 point. Wait, no, 11 point.
Big pull.
Anderson's pull, fielded by Couturier, who flips it up to Paillet. They play a little bit of pass together. It's popped to Poirier. She's looking for Paillet, but some hard defense by Hepting is not there. But Sanson releases that pressure. She comes underneath and pops that over to Poirier and immediately goes up the line, gets it back, showing some speed against Juic. Sanson, big step around to Baudouin. Sanson comes underneath. Resets the count for Baudouin. There's a pick downfield. And a hammer shot from Baudouin. And bounces off a few hands, and Alexandra Couturier is able to reel that in, and that is half. Vintage 8, Korra 7 on serve. So second half is kind of a fresh half, if you will.
Yeah.
No one at a particular advantage or disadvantage, so we're going to take a break right now. Sam, before that, I think, we've got a far quieter Vintage team now. I still think, though, they're very much in this game. They just seem to calm down, and I don't want to say it's gotten less fun, but it's definitely gotten more focused.
More focused. Yeah, got to really keep up. We saw Samson get really into that last play, kind of making sure they kind of secure, keep it in their, what's the word I'm looking for?
Keep it in their control.
Keep it in their side so that they won't kind of They took some safer plays. Samson was sort of running around back and forth, and so it paid off for them. So I feel like there's that element what you talked about, like still having some control, but now they're like, okay, we gotta keep that going. Yeah. Moving forward, they can't get sloppy with anything.
Well, halftimes are 7 minutes. We've been talking for a little bit, so we should be back with you in 5. Stay tuned. Welcome back, Canadian Ultimate fans and fans from everywhere else, to the last half, second half of our last game of the day at Saturday here at Canadian Ultimate Championships 2024 Masters Edition in Waterloo. We are bringing you a Women's Masters Division quarterfinal from our showcase field here at Brim Park. This field is sponsored by Discraft, who gives us the most important equipment for the tournament, the discs. And of course, BE Ultimate, the apparel for the tournament staff, provided by them. My shirt's pretty fly. It's one of my favorites that they've made. And some teams are wearing kits from them, and you can go pick up swag from them at their tent or online. This matchup on serve with Vintage leading 8-7 against Korra. Korra starting on O this half. Lee finds Smith. Smith is going to pop that to Doucette. It gets back to the lead. Lee's been chucking a lot of hucks, and she gets one to Berg. Berg showing some patience. She'll go over the top to Doucette, and Doucette makes the athletic grab even after Wautlen Maisonneuve tried to make a play, and Doucette just stands her ground to bring that down. Tie game, 8-8.
Tie game.
Korra, team made up of Saskatoon and Regina players, have been around for a little while now. They founded pretty early in 2015.
Yeah.
Vintage, on the other hand, they're from Montreal. They've been around 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah, formed by Allison Fisher, known in the high-performance national community, as well as well known in, Canadian Ultimate.
Yeah, got some history there.
Yeah. So after the first half, the story was that any breaks were basically nullified, and we ended up back on serve. So, tie game, and Vintage did start the game on offense today. We've seen some players doing some heavy lifting in the backfield. We've talked a lot about Maud Sanson, 99 on Vintage, who has been just a deadly receiver this game for Vintage.
Yep.
Anderson, another big backhand pull from her. Fielded quickly by one of the handler anchors, Poirier, who centers to her counterpart, Paillet. Poirier reaching out and then immediately pitching it to Sanson. Sanson just a bit outside of the end zone. Pump fakes, uses some patience, and is able to wait for Anne-Marie Jumonville to come across.
Yeah.
And an efficient O point by Vintage. The score, 9-8. Sam, more the same from the first half, right?
Yeah, more the same. Very, very similar kind of plays here, where Sanson will kind of either be the one receiving a far huck and then setting up further back again. Kind of either or in that position. So they took their time with that one throw just to get it right.
I really liked Jumonville being patient and not cutting into the space in front of Sanson there right away, and allowing her teammates to vacate that space, and then making a real hard cut across the field, which is pretty much a go-ahead goal at that point. Poilot has been the only puller for Vintage this game, I think. So each team kind of having a designated player to do that. That lands just in. And that's picked up by Wojtwicz. Steven finds Lee in the middle. We're seeing a zone look from Vintage, but while Korra was starting to shred it like cheese, they commit an error, and Vintage aims to capitalize. Wautlen Maisonneuve gets that to the middle. to Pombre. And there's a pick called en Sanson. So C will send that back.
Well, Clay, remind me again.
Yeah.
Pick call.
Pick call, if you're familiar with basketball, setting a pick is when you use somebody else to block your defender from following you. You see it sometimes in football that they just call that a block, right? And you can be a lot more active in football about it. But we're not wearing any pads, and we are a sport of sprinters, so it's far too dangerous to set picks. So they've been made illegal outright in the game. So if you're following your check on defense and you are cut off in any way, you can call pick and catch up. Pombrun brings that down, pops it over to Sanson. Sanson looking for options. She's got a few. Bate airs that out for Pombrun with the big with the big bring down.
Yep.
And that was a D point for Vintage, so that's a break. The score now 10-8. So to finish that pick call discussion, if I'm following you and I am picked somehow, it can actually be by anybody. It could be by one of your players. It could be one of my players, even completely accidental. If you're throwing a pass in that time, the disc will have to go back to the thrower. And if you're not throwing a pass in that time, then play just stops and I get to catch up to you.
So it's the position of where my defense is setting up.
Yeah, not necessarily, because sometimes it's like miscommunication between offensive players that they say to pick. Sometimes the defense, like even the defense can have like a cross-up. And it's almost, what's interesting, it's almost up to the offense to make sure those cross-ups don't happen, which is a weird nuance to Ultimate. Like the offense has to make sure that they won't cause a pick with the route they take, which, you know, kind of develops into sort of the routes and patterns that a lot of players run, right? Because they have to find space. And when you hear Ultimate players talking about making space, well, they're talking about making space so there aren't any pick calls and there's no traffic. Juick fields that pull to Anderson. Anderson gets it to Berg. Berg flips it to Doucette. Back to Berg. Doucette. Doucette being left alone for a good chunk at this point, allowing Korra to march it down the field. Anderson with the big break. Berg steps around, takes her time, and gets that to Danny Bouvier. 10-9. So once again, seeing that focus from Vintage. I mean, that was a hold for Korra. You don't need to be upset about that point or anything. You just scored a break. Korra got a hold. You're up a break right now. That's the term. So you're in the driver's seat, and we haven't seen Vintage really get nervous at all this game. They've just been – they have a plan.
Yeah.
Anderson. Who else but Bobby is going to pull here for Korra?
Yep. Decent hang time on that one.
Bethes Tremblay playing a little tic-tac-toe with her support crew. Joignez-vous able to find Pombre in the middle. Pombre sticks with her to give it back. Joignez-vous looking for options on the open side. Elects to go backwards to Bate. Pombre. Bate Tremblay looks off the high traffic throws. I love that patience. Instead, able to throw the elevator Marie-André Pombreux. So Vintage makes it 11. Korra still at 9.
Who's the one who caught it again?
That was number 30, Pombreux,
Nice. Yeah.
who we're seeing actually a lot of in the second half. Seeing Vintage kind of resting the people that they were really pushing at the beginning of the game, like Sanson.
Yeah, she had a break within that play, so rightfully so.
Yeah, but she's back out there now.
Yeah.
While standard O-line from Korra.
What's an O-line? Help.
Offensive line. So these are
Offensive
the
line.
folks on
Okay.
Korra here
Yeah.
who are typically playing offense.
Yeah.
Seeing G. Lee act as an anchor there. Wojtowicz has been a great active reset going up the line. Same with Steven.
Yep.
Doucette, Berg, and Smith have been using their speed, and Bouvier's shown up in this game with a few goals.
Yeah.
Sanson's pull. It's going to get to about the brick mark. Lee's going to get underneath that, flip it to Berg. Gets it to Doucette, who flips it back to Smith. Using a little negative space to get an easy advantage for an up the line. Lee hustles up the line.
Yep.
And immediately takes a shot to Smith. And you can see Lee a little frustrated. Second missed up the line shot to Smith this game. Oh, seeing a very interesting adjustment here. Petra Steven playing last back and poaching off the far wing, especially with Sanson in the deep area. But poachers get punished, and Couturier takes advantage of that. Sanson now finds Jubenville. She'll pop that to Baudouin. Baudouin's had a few big hucks this game. She points deep, lines up into a flick huck stance, decides not to do it. Just a lefty backhand pop to Paillet, who rips out her favorite throw to Sanson. And you can see why it's her favorite throw.
Yeah.
And another break for Vintage.
Yep.
The score, 12-9.
Oh, man.
And G. Lee calling the line for Korra. Tough to be in that player captain role sometimes when you're exhausted and calling a line. It's very tough to try and delegate and let go of those things sometimes to keep your team on track. One that's ever called lines will know. Sam, I'm feeling like Vintage is, they have the momentum right now. Obviously, they got the
momentum.
They're
really
hungry for
comfortable
this.
switching up their players here. Like, they're still very strong within their game plan.
Yeah.
Regardless of, they still got a point previous without Samson, and so they're really comfortable in this kind of area with the game plan they're kind of operating in.
Sohm look. Vintage trying to just gum up the middle. Doucette goes back to Humble. Over to Smith. Pops that to Anderson. Humble gets that around to Duick. A spicy pass to Berg. Doucette's going to grab that, pop it over to Anderson. Big cascade here as Korra's on a run. Humble pops that to Doucette. Goes back. Greenwald getting involved out of the stack. Doesn't like that first look on the open side. Anderson takes up off the line. Easy for her. And Berg is there. Berg. Big point earner for Korra. The All Sorts crew out in force supporting Korra right now. The score 12-10 for Korra. Sam, I was thinking just in that last point, story of the second half a little bit. I feel that it's not so much Vintage's defense. The pressure is there.
Yeah.
But it's not Vintage's defense that is winning them this game. It's the capitalization they have on Korra's errors. And Korra's getting close. They're getting it down the field, and they're just getting throwaways or drops here and there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really great kind of play where we saw Vintage was like their game plan was still solid as ever, but Korra was kind of stepped up their game. They didn't make a missed throw here and there.
Yeah, at that point they were just
they were
off
they
to
were
the
fully
races,
in control.
right? Yeah,
they were in the zone.
So an O-line from Vintage that we've saw very early on in the game back on the field. Paye and Poirier working in the middle together. Paye does not like the look to Baudouin and will pop it back to her counterpart. Sanson comes down the middle. Juignez-vous was poached, now marked up, looking for options. Sanson up the line. She'll elect to go back to the break side to T. T rips that around to Baudouin, who elevates to make that catch. Taylor with a really active mark and an unfortunate drop from Juignez-vous.
Yep.
And Jewick takes off, but there's no one at the disc. Anderson goes to pick up. Taylor is ready to go. Anderson's not looking in that direction, sticks with the flick. Greenwald likes to go for the dump. Anderson flips it to Humble. Humble does not like those looks, telling people to get out. Flips it back to Anderson. Anderson runs out of time. And Sanson using her height.
Big huck
over McLeod.
Off 82.
Oh, an immediate huck.
Oh.
Wow. Juignez-vous gets the redemption. Was that Sanson's huck?
That was Sanson's huck.
Wow,
right
what a bomb down the line. And Juignez-vous, after her drop, gets some redemption.
Yeah.
And the goal, her third of the game, I think. 13-10. Vintage leads.
Oh, I see a timeout.
Timeout taken by Vintage.
Yep.
I'll take this opportunity to just let any viewers that are on the stream right now know that we are streaming 3 games tomorrow, each final. At this tournament, there will be other teams playing during the final. So you may see during the final some activity on the fields next to us or teams warming up, but all 3 finals will be played on this field. The order, I believe, is, I want to say open women's mixed or open mixed women's, but the open will be the first feature tomorrow. Open didn't get a lot of streams this tournament as they were only a 5-team division.
Okay.
Yeah, making up about 15% of the attendance here. So we did stream a doozy on the first day, but I actually am not sure who has made it to the final. But if you want to check on those things and look at the brackets, you can access tournament information through the Ultimate Canada website, and it'll bring you to kind of a subsection where it's Waterloo, Canadian Masters tournament, and you can look up results and schedules and see what the brackets look like tomorrow. You can track points of players and see who the scoring leaders are for different teams or in the overall tournament. Always fun to read stats. Those stats are entered as quickly as the staff can as they come into our tents. So they're not always current, but you know, if you're curious to see how a family member is doing or how a friend is doing, you can access that. I think it's accessed mostly by the players immediately after they're done playing, though.
Well, there with the pull for that one.
Joignez-vous goes to Lee. We're seeing a poach in the lanes here. Kind of a wedge zone here. So 2 people following the handlers, 3 in the middle and 2 deep, which forces just a team to make lots of throws. You bank on them making a mistake. But seeing some confidence here from Korra. I hear the melt to match defense call from Vintage. But Korra using
And
that
throws
speed. And Doucette's throw just pops over. And once again, it's not so much the defense. It's Korra's getting close to the end zone and just having a miscue. While on Maisonneuve will flip back to the middle. Joignez-vous. It's Guy Lontin. Oh, some big huck fakes from Betette Tremblay.
Yep.
Joignez-vous is not going to fake it. She's going to take the shot. And it seems Vintage wasn't really sure who that was for, but I'm hearing the immediate set call from Pombrun, meaning they are going to set up their zone. This wedge with some pretty shallow mids.
Yeah. At one point, 30, Pombrun was going to set up for a deep throw, but they decided not to, and I think that's where that happened.
Doucette looking for holes. Steven. To lead. Lee immediately just gets the disc moving. Joignez-vous and her play a little bit of catch. Lee asking for Smith to come under and help on the side to get the disc all the way around. But the holes are there. I mean, with 2 people in front, we're seeing Korra just overload.
Yeah.
And it's working.
Okay.
Sticking with the short game, Berg looks off, is taking the safe pass. Lee flips that to Steven. Steven with the big IO flick.
Nice. Yeah.
And Danny Bouvier with the spike and the hustle off the field, feeling pumped.
Yeah.
13,
Korra really
11.
worked for that. That was really, really strong for them.
Still a lot of time left in this game. The hard
we
cap for this game is at 4:55.
And the time is now?
I did 4:37.
Yeah. So
maybe closer to 4:38. So
either or.
If you can keep the game, well, I mean, I want to say if you can keep the game in 1, but Vintage just has to have 2 offensive holds to win.
Yeah. So
Korra's got to double their points here. That's, double up on points. Yeah. Well, more than that. I'm sorry. Korra has to score more points. It's my in-depth analysis.
Yeah. 3 versus 2. I believe. But depending that shift versus, I've noticed kind of like the plays when Korra on defense versus Vintage on defense. They're very different in terms of who has control.
Right. Bobby's pull is going to bounce past Paye. She picks it up quick, flips it to Paye. Baudouin. Sanson using her speed to break out underneath. She'll let loose a big flip bomb to Paye. And it seemed that Greenwald on Korra there had a read on it, but maybe stopped to think of a jump too early. And it just sailed over her head. So Vintage now within one. The score 14-11.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the play that I was looking, kind of expecting in terms of if Vintage is going to make a play, it would be something like that.
Right.
They've made that kind of play with Samson multiple times.
So, like we said earlier, winner of this game will be headed to the semifinal.
Will that semifinal still take place within this event or elsewhere?
Oh, no, here, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything ends tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I'm just...
Lavere with the pull.
Unfortunately, can't get that information for you right now of who the winner would potentially face. Seeing this wedge again from Vintage. Lee finds Smith through the middle. They are having no problem finding the holes in the middle. So Vintage switches into match defense. Berg finds Doucette in the middle. Lee looks for Anderson. Gets the around backhand break. That throw for Smith is just too high. I mean, I feel like I've said that many times this game. Smith has been open over and over and over again, and it's just a missed connection. Perhaps 4 to 5 points in the end zone where it's gone over Smith's head. Bete Tremblay flips that to Pombre and gets it right back. She's looking for options. There's a pick called. You saw that Fournier continued to play and made the catch as a little add-on bonus from our pick call discussion earlier. When a pick is called and the disc is in the air, you still have to catch it.
Still have to catch it.
Yeah, if you let it hit the ground, it's actually ruled a turnover. So,
well, then it would count as you'd overturn the pick call because it's been technically.
Yeah,
dropped.
it just doesn't matter anymore, right? Because with the turnover happening, it's moot. So, good heads up play by Fournier. It's always a really good reminder for any player of any level. You always run out your pick calls. You always make the play, and if people have to, get louder and louder to get your attention, that's okay.
Yeah.
Fournier looking for a dump. Joignez-vous there, kind of cycling.
Nice.
Peut-être Tremblay. Flips to Joignez-vous.
Yeah, and we got some wind here, just a tiny bit here.
It's
so
picking
that's
up. Lavelle.
We got background cheers for Korra.
G. Lee with the D. And she'll quickly rip that to Bouvier, who is caught sleeping. What a catch by Berg. So there's a call just because I think Smith was a little shaken up by that. She can call the foul. The result of the play is Korra retaining possession. The disc won't go back because the foul happened while the disc was in the air, and Berg made a play that was unrelated to the foul. Correct. So, just a foul that was either retracted or just rendered not important. Anderson hitting the dirt to keep that alive. Berg takes off the line, elevates a little too early, and then bounces off the hands of Doucette. Man, those
so close.
Sides of the end zone just plaguing Korra in this half. Majority of the turnovers happening on the edges in the red zone. Joignez-vous climbs back up the hill after fetching the disc. Turnover there. Doucette using superior speed against wind to cause a turnover. Lee gets that around
Set.
to Doucette. Smith gets a backhand break to Bouvier. And no calls. That is a goal.
That is 14-12.
You're still 11 minutes away from the hard cap.
Yeah.
So Korra won't actually. All right. So obviously, let's just break this down time-wise. Vintage scores, they win. Okay, that's out of the way. If you're Korra, you can't let them score, or you lose. Yes, but timing-wise, as long as Korra scores this point before the hard cap, which is in 10 minutes, they can stop worrying about the cap. And then all they have to do is score, score every break after that to take the game on Universe.
That's because
that's
of
their only path.
Once the cap hits, then they can play the next point, correct?
That's right. So if they score this before the cap goes off, their next point, assuming that, it wasn't Vintage scoring it, would result in a tie. So all Korra has to do
it's a lot
is
banking on this. This.
So to get the cap out of the way, all they have to do is score in the next 10 minutes. But
that's
you have to hold Vintage for 3 points here.
Yeah, and Vintage, we know that they're really well known for making a play on the offense here.
Yeah, and
With
I mean,
Samson.
looking at it now, I'm looking at that, and that is a star-studded offense line. That is their strong offense line.
Yeah.
Sanson coming across in the middle.
You know.
He's made really smart choices. Looks for the reset to Baudouin. Doesn't like it. She'll instead step around to Paillet. Paillet reaches out to grab that. Paillet finds Poirier. She finds Sanson on the edge. Korra working really hard to deny that edge, but Vintage gets the break around. Poirier is going to take off. Sanson's on the break side. No mark, so it's an easy one.
And 21.
And
Courtier.
Couturier is there for the goal. That's game. Vintage wins 15-12.
That was great.
It was
by
great.
Vintage. Very strong.
Sam, I think we saw just maybe Korra drop 5 or 6 points just in the end zone this game.
That's pretty difficult, but they still kind of gave it their all. They're still making Vintage really work for it there throughout.
Yeah, I think this is one of those games, I mean, everything's hindsight, right? But this is one of those games where you look at it and you want to say Korra and Vintage were evenly matched teams, and Vintage's consistency, right? And just rock solid focus the whole game carried them to a win, while Korra's lapses in some execution is the only reason this game was off by 3 points.
Yeah, hard to see it, but I still think it's a valiant effort on Korra's end. Even so, they started from a 4 to.
Oh well, yeah, it was a
7-4 deficit.
Yeah.
And they took that back pretty quick.
Yeah,
that was great to see. So a great story all around for this game.
Yeah. So Korra will drop into the finals bracket. They'll be able to play for 5th place, while Vintage will continue into a semifinal, which I believe takes place tomorrow. But those of you that can actually go read the internet properly right now should let me know, or let your friends know what you're going to watch tomorrow. We are streaming 3 games tomorrow, all 3 finals, here from Rinn Park on this very showcase field. Thank you for joining us today, and thus concludes Day 2 of the Canadian Ultimate Championship Masters Edition here in Waterloo. Please turn in for some exciting finals tomorrow. I'm Clay Howlett.
I'm Sam Weber.
And we will have you tuning in tomorrow.
Thank you.
The full 80 yards. drive to the field? Are you kidding me?
And an incredible catch.
You are kidding me!
Oh my God!
One of the